All right, let's dive into this deep dive, shall we? We're tackling NW Power and Prediction today by Agrawal, Gans, and Goldfarb.
Great book.
Yeah, and
Really interesting topic.
it is. It's all about how AI is changing the game, not just with, fancy algorithms, but really shaking up these entire systems in ways you might not expect.
Yeah, it's interesting how the authors don't really get caught up in that whole, like, robots taking over scenario.
Right.
They really bring it back to something really fundamental. Prediction.
Right.
They argue that AI at its core is really just about making predictions cheaper and more accessible.
That sounds simple enough, but I bet it leads to some pretty big changes, right? I mean, think about how Netflix recommends shows that you actually want to watch.
Right.
It's almost creepy how accurate it is. And that's, AI at work, predicting what you'll like. So I can only imagine what happens when you apply that to much bigger things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The book talks about how these better predictions change decision-making at all levels. And they kind of break it down into these 3 levels of AI solutions. So you have like point solutions, application solutions, and then system solutions.
Okay, break those down a little more.
Yeah, so point solutions are like when you use AI to like improve a single task.
Okay.
While application solutions use AI to create something totally new, like a whole new product or something.
Right.
But the real game changer is system solutions, where AI basically reshapes entire industries from the ground up.
Oh, wow. So is there like an example of a system solution in the book that really stands out?
Yeah, well, the Climate Corporation is a really great example.
Yeah.
They're using AI to make all these predictions about weather and crop yields and all these sorts of agricultural factors.
So they're like a weather forecasting company for farmers.
Kind of, but it's much more than that. And here's the kicker. They're actually telling farmers in Kansas to stop growing corn.
Hold on. How does a tech company all the way from San Francisco have the power to tell a farmer in Kansas what to grow? That seems like such a huge shift in how decisions are made.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
In agriculture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it all comes down to this power of prediction.
Yep.
The Climate Corporation's AI models are so good at forecasting what will actually thrive in a given location that farmers are actually starting to trust their data even more than like traditional farming practices or their own intuition.
I can see how that would be a huge deal for farmers. I mean, it could make or break their entire season.
Exactly.
But it's got to bring up a ton of questions about, like, who's in control and how these decisions are actually made. Does the book talk about that?
Absolutely. They dive into this whole idea of rules and uncertainty.
Okay.
So we create all these rules to manage uncertainty.
Like what?
Like, think about airport security lines.
Yeah.
They're a total hassle, but they exist because of the uncertainty of potential threats.
Of course.
Right. But when you can actually minimize that uncertainty through these accurate predictions, you can start to question whether those rules are even necessary anymore.
That reminds me of how, like, airports themselves have changed.
Yeah.
The book mentions this, how modern airports are full of all these shops and restaurants, like they've become destinations in themselves. But, for the super rich who fly private, airports are still pretty basic, just a place to get on and off a plane.
Well, that's because those amenities are basically there to address the uncertainty of commercial travel delays, right?
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, private jet travelers don't really have that uncertainty because they control the schedule.
That makes sense.
So it really highlights how much our systems are actually designed around managing uncertainty.
Yeah.
So if AI can reduce that uncertainty through better predictions, then we might need to rethink how a lot of these systems actually operate.
That's a fascinating point. So if AI is like making predictions better and cheaper, does that mean that we can just get rid of all the rules that we've built up over time?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
The book introduces this concept called the bullwhip effect, which basically shows how even small changes in one part of a system, like driven by AI predictions, can actually create these huge and often unexpected consequences
Interesting.
elsewhere. Think about it like this. You make a tiny change at one end of a whip.
Okay.
But at the other end of the whip, that change is amplified into a powerful crack, right?
Right.
The same thing can happen with AI predictions.
Wow. Okay, I'm starting to see how this gets complex.
Yeah.
Can you give me like a specific example of this bullwhip effect
Yeah.
in action?
Sure, yeah. The book uses this example of avocados.
Okay.
So imagine a restaurant is using AI to particularly predict, how many avocados they need each week to make guacamole.
Sounds good.
Seems efficient, right? But what if every restaurant starts doing that?
Huh?
The demand for avocados could, fluctuate wildly, impacting avocado growers, distributors, everyone in between.
That makes sense. So even though AI can make individual decisions better, it could also create these new problems on a much larger scale. Yeah. It sounds like we need a new way to think about these system level changes more strategically.
Totally.
Does the book offer any guidance on that?
Yeah, actually it does. It introduces this tool called the AI Systems Discovery Canvas to help you kind of reimagine entire industries as if you had access to these perfect AI predictions.
Interesting.
It's like a blank slate to rethink how things work.
All right, I'm intrigued. So let's say we wanted to use this canvas to reimagine the insurance industry. How would we even go about that?
Well, first you would define the mission of the industry.
Okay.
Which in this case, it would be to protect people from financial risk, right?
Makes sense.
Then you would break down the core decisions involved, things like marketing to customers, underwriting policies, and processing claims.
Okay, got it. So where does the AI fit in?
Well, imagine having an AI that could perfectly predict things like the lifetime value of a customer, the likelihood they'll file a claim, and the legitimacy of those claims. The entire insurance system could basically be redesigned around those predictions.
So no more paperwork, no more guessing about risk.
Exactly.
It would be completely personalized and hyper efficient, right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think about.
But what happens to all the people who currently work in insurance? I mean, that's a huge shift.
Right, and that's a key question that the book explores. It's not even just about jobs.
Right.
It's about power dynamics. Who actually gets to make decisions when AI is making all these predictions?
Yeah.
Whose judgment matters most? These are the big social and economic questions that we really have to consider as AI changes these entire systems.
This is getting me thinking. What would you redesign if you could use perfect AI predictions? It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. We'll be right back to dive into another fascinating example from the book, how AI could transform emergency medicine.
Welcome back. So before we went to that break, we were talking about how AI can transform these entire systems.
Yeah, those system solutions.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so
pretty fascinating.
let's shift gears a bit and look at another example from the book.
Okay.
Emergency medicine. Picture this. You arrive at the ER with chest pain.
Okay.
So the big question is it a heart attack or not?
That's a high-stakes situation for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And every minute counts.
Yeah.
Right now, doctors rely on a lot of different tests to actually make that diagnosis, like EKGs, blood work, maybe even a CT scan.
Yeah.
And all of those tests take time and they can be expensive,
Sure.
which adds to the stress of an already difficult situation.
Of course. So I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
What if AI could help speed up that process and make it more efficient?
Exactly. The book explores this idea of using AI to analyze your symptoms.
Yep. If AI can make the diagnosis, then what role would doctors even play?
That's where this whole concept of decoupling prediction from judgment comes in.
Okay.
So think of it this way. The AI could provide the prediction, but it's still up to the doctor to actually decide what to do with that information.
So the AI makes the prediction, and the doctor uses their, expertise and judgment to determine the best course of action.
Right, exactly.
But it's a partnership, not a replacement.
Precisely. And the book even takes this idea a step further.
Okay.
And envisions a future where emergency medicine happens outside of the hospital.
Wait, what did that even mean? No more hospitals?
Well, not quite. But imagine if that AI diagnosis could happen in the ambulance or even at home.
Oh, wow.
Paramedics equipped with portable AI tools could potentially treat you on the spot and only transport you to the hospital if it was absolutely necessary.
That's a pretty radical shift. So hospitals might actually become smaller?
Yeah.
And medical training would need to change dramatically as well, right?
Exactly. If we can accurately predict which patients need immediate complex care, we can really rethink the whole system.
Yeah.
It might mean smaller hospitals, maybe a greater emphasis on preventative care.
Okay.
Paramedics even taking on a more central role in emergency medicine.
So it's a complete transformation of how we even think about healthcare.
Exactly.
I mean, this is why I find this whole topic so fascinating.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about replacing humans with robots.
Right.
We're really talking about using AI to rethink systems, and make them work better for everyone.
It all circles back to that idea of system solutions that we talked about earlier.
Right.
AI isn't just about making individual tasks more efficient. It's about really understanding how those tasks fit into a larger system and then using predictions to optimize the whole thing.
It makes you wonder what other systems could be reimagined with the help of AI.
Oh, absolutely.
What if we could use it to improve transportation, education, even government?
Yeah, the possibilities really are endless.
The possibilities are endless.
Right. The book obviously doesn't cover every single possible application.
Right.
But it really offers this powerful framework for thinking about how AI can actually drive this kind of system change. It encourages us to be really bold in our thinking and to, challenge the status quo.
I'm curious, how do you think this whole idea of, like, AI-powered prediction will affect people's jobs in the future?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Right.
Will AI just create new jobs, or will it just simply replace existing ones? That's a question that everyone's kind of grappling with right now.
Sure.
And there's no easy answer.
Of course.
I mean, some jobs will inevitably be automated, but, history has shown us that these kinds of technological advancements also tend to create new industries and new opportunities that we can't even imagine yet.
It sounds like we're entering this, period of major transition.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think people are even ready for all these changes?
Well, that's another really key point that the book raises. We're in what the authors call the between times. Yeah. This period where we're still figuring out how to actually harness the power of AI and how to grapple with all the implications.
Yeah.
It's a time of both excitement and uncertainty.
It definitely feels like we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
We can either, cling to our old systems and ways of doing things, or we can kind of embrace the challenge of reimagining everything with AI as a guiding force.
I like that.
It's exciting and daunting at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what makes this book so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It doesn't give us all the answers,
right,
but it does equip us with this new way of thinking about the transformative potential of AI. It's kind of a call to action, an invitation to actually engage in these really crucial conversations and to be these active participants in shaping the future.
Well said. This deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about.
Yeah, me too.
And I hope our listeners feel the same way.
I hope so too.
Now let's wrap up our exploration of New W power and prediction and discuss what it all means for you, our listeners. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into New W power and prediction. It's clear that AI is more than just a technological advancement.
Yeah, for sure.
It really has the potential to reshape entire systems, from agriculture and healthcare to the very fabric of our daily lives.
One of the things that really struck me about the book is how it emphasizes how we're still in the early stages of this whole AI revolution.
Right.
The authors actually call it the between times.
Oh, like that.
This period where we're all still figuring out how to actually use this power of prediction and navigate all the consequences. Right?
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, what will our world look like once we're through these between times?
Yeah.
What new systems will we create? What problems will we have solved? What new challenges will we even face?
Those are some really big questions. And honestly, the book doesn't offer any easy answers.
Right.
But it does give us this new way of thinking about the potential of AI.
Okay.
It encourages us to think big, challenge our assumptions, and really embrace the uncertainty of this extraordinary moment in history.
This whole idea of the between times really resonates with me. We're standing on the edge of something truly transformative.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, but it's also a little bit daunting at the same time.
For sure.
It feels like we have this real opportunity to shape the future.
Yeah.
But we also have this huge responsibility to make sure we use this technology wisely.
That's exactly the point the authors are trying to make.
Right.
AI isn't some neutral force that's going to inevitably just lead us to this specific outcome.
Yeah.
It's really a tool that we can use for good or for bad.
Of course.
The choices that we make today will determine the kind of world we create tomorrow.
So what can we do? How can we ensure that AI is used to create a better future for everyone?
Well, the book really stresses the importance of engagement. We need to be having these conversations, asking the tough questions, and demanding transparency from the people who are actually developing and deploying AI.
Yeah.
We just can't afford to be passive observers in this process.
It sounds like we all need to become way more informed about AI and all of its potential impacts.
Absolutely.
We can't just leave it to the experts to, figure everything out.
Exactly. The more we all understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions about its use.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We need to educate ourselves, engage in the public discourse, and really hold our leaders accountable for their decisions.
So to our listeners, if you've been inspired by this deep dive into new W power and prediction, I really encourage you to keep exploring these ideas.
I agree.
Read the book, talk to your friends and family, and start thinking about how AI might impact your own life and work.
We're all in this together, right? The future of AI isn't predetermined. It's actually being shaped right now by the choices we make and the actions we take. So let's make sure it's a future we can all be proud of.
What a powerful message to end on. We've only scratched the surface of this complex topic, but hopefully this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Yeah.
And a new perspective on the potential of AI. Thanks for joining us.